When Sandra first found her cat, Missy, relaxing in the sink that morning, she didn't think much of it. While it was a new place for her cat, it wasn't hurting anything. Besides, she'd seen plenty of videos online about cats spending time in the sink, so she wasn't too worried. But then, she realized the reason Missy was acting that way. Once she knew what was happening, it didn't take her long to realize she was in over her head. She needed help. Missy was always eager to see Sandra first thing in the morning, often waiting by the bedroom door. She loved getting attention, and since it was just the two of them, she was often at Sandra's side. The two had a nice routine. Sandra would often wake up with Missy at her bedroom door, eager for pets. On weekends, they would go for walks around the park. During the week, they would play and explore the garden outside. One day, something changed. Sandra woke up and Missy was nowhere to be found. She even tried shaking out some of Missy's favorite snacks, which had always made the cat come running before. This time, though, there was no response. Sandra searched the house thoroughly, even checking outdoors in case the cat had somehow escaped. There was no sign of her, but Sandra wasn't going to give up. She'd keep searching until she found her precious cat. Sandra always locked up her house at night, ensuring there was no place the cat could escape. While she was sure she'd done the same last night as every night, Sandra couldn't quite remember. Was there a possibility something had been left open? As she continued to search, Sandra began to think about all of the places Missy could have gone. There were parks, woods, busy roads, and even a lake. Missy was likely somewhere alone and scared, or worse. Sandra suddenly remembered that she'd opened the window in the bathroom the night before to help remove the steam after her shower. She might have left it open last night, and Missy could have escaped. She'd always been hyper-aware that her windows all needed to be closed before bed. How could she have forgotten one? She couldn't forget herself if that was the case. Desperate to find out if she'd left the window open, Sandra hurried to the bathroom. Sandra rushed into the bathroom. She couldn't help but think that she'd never see her cat again. As expected, the window in the bathroom was wide open. However, her cat wasn't missing. Upon closer inspection of the room, Sandra noticed Missy lying in the sink. Overjoyed, Sandra couldn't help but pick up her cat and hold her close. She was overjoyed her cat was safe and sound, even though she'd messed up the night before. Still, Sandra couldn't help but wonder why Missy was in the sink, and if she'd been in the room the whole time. Why hadn't she come when Sandra called for her or when she offered treats? Her cat wasn't one to ignore her. When Missy was set back down on the floor, she quickly moved back to the sink, completely focused on it, and ignoring Sandra once again. This was unusual, with Missy usually desperate for attention, and Sandra started to worry. So concerned about her cat, Sandra never considered there could be something odd about the sink to make Missy act this way. Sandra scooped up Missy again, saying how much she loved her precious cat and giving her plenty of head kisses. Still, something sat uneasily in her gut as she thought about the whole situation. She tried to just be thankful that Missy was back with her, but she couldn't help but feel worried about the strange behavior. Sandra walked out of the bathroom, taking Missy with her. Her cat tried to get out of her grip and back into the bathroom, but as Sandra closed the door, Missy seemed to give up and accept the love. She even accepted treats Sandra fed her. Everything seemed normal, and the bundle of warmth in her arms reassured Sandra that everything was going to be fine. Though something bad could have happened, it didn't, and her cat was safe. She'd just have to be more careful in the future. That reassurance didn't last long. After eating her treats and being set back on the ground, Missy ran right to the bathroom door. She pawed at the obstacle in her way, meowing to get Sandra's attention. Missy had never cared about the bathroom before, and Sandra felt perplexed by this new behavior. She tried to keep Missy away from the door and distracted, but she was focused only on getting back into the bathroom. Sandra couldn't help the frustration building inside her. In her rush to work, Sandra left Missy with treats, toys, and her favorite blankets and pillows to keep her occupied. She ensured all windows were closed and locked, maintaining a safe environment for her curious cat while she was away. Sandra knew Missy's desire for mischief, particularly her obsession with the striped bathroom sink. Despite her precautions, Sandra couldn't shake a slight worry as she hurried out the door. She had taken all precautions to keep Missy occupied and comfortable. Running late, Sandra hurried to her car, running into a stranger standing nearby accompanied by a strange, pungent odor. Distracted by Missy's recent unusual behavior, she quickly drove off, preoccupied with thoughts of her beloved cat and not thinking that the strange man could in any way be related to her cat's weird behavior. Despite her rush of getting to work on time, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Sandra dismissed the foul odor as a common sewer issue, unaware to its potential connection with Missy's peculiar actions. Her thoughts were consumed with getting to work on time, completing work deadlines and Missy's recent antics. She hurried through her morning routine, pushing the strange smell to the back of her mind. She didn't even bother to notice the man's strange clothing or the fact that he was carrying a large black bag. Throughout her workday, Sandra's mind kept returning to Missy's strange fascination with the sink. Despite the day passing by relatively uneventful, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was wrong. Sandra's thoughts wandered back to Missy's unusual behavior in the bathroom. Was it mere curiosity, or was Missy trying to alert her to something hidden in their home? As Sandra kept on working, a sense of unease crept over her. Little did she know, the answers lay closer than she could have imagined. That evening, after returning from work, Sandra was still puzzled. Despite offering treats, Missy was fixated on the closed bathroom door. Sandra considered calling a plumber to investigate the strange behavior further, but she was hesitant to do so without knowing the reason for this behavior. And Missy's fixation on the bathroom sink had grown stronger with each passing day, leaving Sandra increasingly concerned. She couldn't figure out what's up with Missy at this point. Was Missy trying to communicate something important, or was it simply a new quirk? Returning home, Sandra found Missy still fixated and sleeping outside the bathroom. Relieved to see her safe, Sandra scooped her up, showering her with affection. She was relieved that she didn't have to search the entire house for Missy or that she was safe and sound inside the home. Missy's purrs and nuzzles brought comfort to Sandra's worried mind. She set Missy down, watching as her cat explored the room with renewed curiosity. As Sandra opened the door, she noticed that she had started to sniff the drain with a heightened interest. Was there something hidden in the sink that Missy had discovered? Was it a new smell that had been brought in by the wind? Was it something that had been lurking in the drain for years? Was it something that had been put there by a previous tenant or a pest? Or was it due to a plumbing issue? Sandra couldn't dismiss the possibility. The lingering odor, similar to the morning street scent, puzzled Sandra. Suspecting it wasn't merely a sewer issue, she contemplated calling a plumber and the city for further investigation. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was connected to Missy's behavior, unsettling Sandra. She had heard people getting sick from bad smells coming from the sewers. She wanted to find the reason for the smell in order to protect Missy and herself from any possible health issues. Concerned about Missy's unusual behavior and the persistent smell, Sandra decided to call the police for assistance in identifying the source. As Sandra dialed the police, she hoped they could shed light on the unsettling situation. However, she was frowning, thinking if the police will believe her or not. The police arrived, taking Sandra's concerns seriously, and investigated the scene. Sandra answered the police's questions as best as she could. She was relieved that someone believed her concern. As the officers listened attentively, they looked puzzled but took notes as Sandra recounted the events. They assured her they would investigate thoroughly. While Sandra was still very apprehensive and afraid, she was glad that despite her apprehensions she decided to call the police. She was happy as the police took her requests seriously and took immediate action. She thought that people should not be afraid to report such a concerning issue. While she was absorbed in her thoughts, the officers whispered among themselves about their confusion regarding the matter. As Sandra watched the police secure the area, she struggled to process everything. The stranger, now revealed to be a scientist, had nearly caused a disaster, all because of a reckless experiment. The virus, the smell, Missy's strange behavior, it all made sense now. She clutched Missy tightly, feeling a strange mix of relief and unease. This could have been so much worse. What if no one had listened? What if the virus had spread beyond the sewers? As the last of the hazmat teams finished their work, the commanding officer turned to Sandra. "You were lucky," he said. "But next time, the city might not be." Sandra shivered. She had thought this was over, but was it really?